There are 11,800 council homes in Sefton, in an area of contrasts ranging from coastal districts to inner city communities. Surveys show that £198 million needs to be spent over the next 5 years to bring these homes up to a modern standard and carry out the environmental and security work which tenants have told the council are very important to them. The problem is the council only has £95.6 million available between now and 2011, leaving a shortfall of £102.5 million. The council has not got all the money to reach the modern standards tenants want to see and cannot afford to borrow it. The council cannot even afford to bring the council's homes up to the government's basic decent home standard. So what is the solution? Hi there, I'm John McArdle. In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain why Sefton Council thinks that setting up a new housing organisation called One Vision Housing is the way forward. One Vision Housing will take over the ownership and the management of the council's homes. It would bring them up to modern standards and build stronger communities and keep them like that for future generations of tenants. Now, in order for council homes to transfer to One Vision Housing, the council must show the government that tenants are in favour of the plan. So at the end of this video, I will explain how you will soon be able to vote on the transfer proposal in a secret ballot. I'm here now with Roy Williams, the council's housing director. So, Roy, why is the council in this situation?
John, we're very proud of our housing record in Sefton. The problem is the cost of keeping up with repairs and bringing homes up to a modern standard is growing, but the money we have available to do the work is decreasing, so something has to be done. Surveys show that £198 million is needed over the next 5 years to bring homes and estates up to the modern standards that tenants expect. Like many other local authorities, we simply don't have the money.
But what's the council been doing with the rents it's been receiving?
As I said, we're very proud of our record. We have invested in some council homes, such as Sefton Moss Villas, Hawthorne Road in Bootle, and Heathfield Road in Ainsdale. We want to provide that level of quality for everyone, but the income we receive from rents means that we can't do it, and as a council, we can't afford to go out and borrow all the money needed.
So why is the council proposing transfer?
Working closely with tenant representatives, we looked at all the options open to us. It's clear that only transfer will provide the money needed. It will mean we can bring homes up to a modern standard, fitting double glazed windows, doors, kitchens, bathrooms and central heating systems, but also to invest in estates too. Tenants are telling us they want safer communities, better paths, fences, better lighting and other security measures. Transfer would provide the £198 million needed to invest in tenants' homes in the first 5 years. £35 million would be for estate and environmental improvements. So, having decided that transfer is the best option, the council wants to put all the facts before tenants and let them decide whether they want to transfer to One Vision Housing or stay with the council.
But surely the tenants will think that staying with the council is the best option.
We know that tenants are satisfied with the council and happy with the housing service. But I must make this very clear. Staying with the council doesn't mean things will stay the same. They can't. If tenants vote no to transfer, the reality is that the lack of money means the housing service would deteriorate. The council would not be able to carry out the £198 million of investment in homes and estates. There would only be a much more limited programme of work. The housing department would have to save £1 million each year, spending less money on repairs, cutting jobs in the housing department, closing area offices and selling off the properties in the worst condition. In giving this information, we're not trying to scare tenants. They've asked us for the facts and we're telling it how it is. That's why the council believes that transfer to One Vision Housing is the best way forward. But it's up to tenants to decide for themselves what they want to see happen. We'll make sure that they have all of the information they need to make an informed decision. We don't want anyone to say after the ballot that they would have voted differently had they known all the facts.
Thanks, Roy. So the council hasn't got and can't borrow the money needed to deliver the quality of homes you want to see and the council believes you deserve. So, how will One Vision Housing work? One Vision Housing would be run by a board of management made up of 6 tenants, 1 leaseholder, 3 council nominees and 5 independent people. This will give the tenants more say in the running of the housing service than they have now. If tenants vote in favour of transfer, then council staff who currently provide the housing service would transfer across to One Vision Housing and continue to run the service. The difference is, the money needed would be available for them to provide a first-class housing service. I'm here with Councillor Darren Hardy, who's chair of One Vision Housing. So, Darren, if transfer goes ahead, what's in it for the tenants?
Well, John, if transfer goes ahead, then One Vision Housing would be the new landlord. It would own and manage homes in the future. But tenants' key rights would be protected. They would still be able to buy their home, and their entitlement to claim housing benefit would not be affected. Transfer does not mean tenants would have to move home. Only the ownership and management would transfer to One Vision Housing. The difference is that, unlike the council, One Vision Housing will be able to borrow the money needed to carry out the multi-million-pound investment programme tenants want to see. This means around 5,000 double-glazed windows, around 7,000 front doors, including doors to flats, around 6,000 rear doors, around 6,500 bathrooms, around 7,000 kitchens, around 5,000 boilers, around 6,000 rewires and electrical tests, around 1,000 roofs, around 1,500 gas central heating systems. And remember, One Vision Housing plans to invest £35 million in our estates too. That means new fencing and gates, off-street parking, alley gates, lighting and paths.
So, Darren, what's the catch?
There isn't one, John, but it's up to tenants to decide what they want to see happen in the future. Transfer to One Vision Housing can only go ahead if tenants vote for it.
Thank you, Darren. Well, transfer isn't a new idea. Since 1988, over 926,000 homes in England have transferred, attracting over £13.7 billion in investment. Locally, tenants in Knowsley, St Helens, the Wirral and Holton have all decided that transfer is the best way forward for the future of their homes. And Liverpool City Council has transferred half of its homes and is now planning to transfer the rest. Earlier, I visited Lorraine Campbell in Blackburn with Darwin, whose home transferred to Twin Valley Homes.
Prior to transfer, tenants in the area were very cynical, including me, to be fair. Well, after living the experience, I can certainly say I do agree with transfer. Transfer works. It certainly worked for us here in Blackburn. It's now brought more life into the communities as a whole, and it's brought more tenants into them. And being a tenant myself, that can only be good.
The Shadow Board of One Vision Housing is already working up the organisation's plans and policies so that it is ready to hit the ground running from day one, if tenants vote yes to transfer. Here, board members Paul Taylor and Alison Shavazi answer your questions.
What will happen with rents if transfer goes ahead?
The government has introduced new guidelines to create a fairer rent system, so in future, tenants will pay similar rents whether their landlord is a council or a registered social landlord like One Vision Housing. So tenants in Sefton can be assured that rents will not go through the roof. For the first 5 years after transfer, One Vision Housing would give you a legally binding rent guarantee. That is, your rents would increase each year until 2012 by no more than inflation plus 0.5%, plus a maximum of £2 per week. When the 5-year guarantee period ends, our business plan is based upon rents only increasing in line with government rent policy, which currently limits rises to inflation plus 0.5% per year.
Will I still be able to buy my house if transfer goes ahead?
Yes, if you can buy your home now with the council, you will be able to buy your home under what is called the Preserved Right to Buy scheme. Discounts would transfer to One Vision Housing and continue to grow to the maximum allowed. Your key rights and entitlements will remain. You would still have, for example, the right to succession and the right to take in lodgers. Tenants would have no less security than they do now.
Would One Vision Housing tackle antisocial behaviour?
Yes, we would be a fair but firm landlord. We would work with other agencies to make the borough a safer place to live in. One Vision Housing would be committed to tackling graffiti and fly tipping and things such as abandoned cars and neighbour nuisance. Subject to tenants' consultation, One Vision Housing will have additional measures including an anti-social behaviour team, a state caretaker service and neighbourhood wardens.
Where does all this money come from and how does it get paid back?
If transfer goes ahead, then One Vision Housing would take over the ownership and management of the homes. The housing staff would transfer over and continue to manage the housing service with their terms and conditions protected. One Vision Housing would borrow the money needed from banks and building societies and repay it over the next 30 years from the rental income.
Why can One Vision Housing borrow the money and the council can't?
Although recent government rule changes have allowed councils to borrow money, provided they can repay it, Sefton Council cannot afford to borrow all the money needed. One Vision Housing does not have the same borrowing restrictions as the council. We will produce a 30-year business plan that will take into account how much is needed to bring all homes in Sefton up to the modern standard tenants want to see.
Isn't it privatisation?
No. People on the board are volunteers. They don't get paid. And One Vision Housing will be set up as a charity. Any surplus made by One Vision Housing will be ploughed back into One Vision Housing.
Would the warden service be safe?
Yes. If you have a sheltered housing warden now, you will keep your warden. One Vision Housing would be committed to improving your sheltered housing service in future. Transfer would mean that sheltered schemes would get improved community rooms, improvements to communal gardens, storage for motorised scooters and handrails in all corridors.
What about services for the older people who do not live in sheltered housing?
One Vision Housing would introduce a gardening service for tenants who can't maintain their garden. This would be subject to a small service charge, but would be provided free for older or disabled tenants who have no family members or friends who can help out.
I'm happy with the council. What safeguards would be in place to make sure One Vision Housing kept its promises?
There are lots of safeguards in place if homes transfer. One Vision Housing would have a legally binding contract with the council. It would be regulated by the Housing Corporation, the government's regulator. And remember, there would be 6 tenant representatives and 1 leaseholder on the board of management. This means we have a greater tenant and leaseholder representation on the board than many other registered social landlords. So tenants and leaseholders are well protected.
What about help with decorating?
One Vision Housing would introduce a decorating service for older tenants and those with a disability. Subject to consultation, tenants would be able to get a room decorated for a reasonable charge.
What has transfer got to offer high-rise tenants?
One Vision Housing would keep the concierge service but would consult tenants about changes to the service and about increasing the level of cleaning in the blocks. In addition to improvements such as kitchens and bathrooms, we propose to carry out major improvements to the high-rise blocks, including a new door entry system, improved CCTV systems, walls and electronic gates on the car parks, better landscaping, better outside lighting and new flooring in communal areas.
So there you have it. £198 million needs to be spent to bring homes and estates up to the modern standard you want to see. The council wants to provide better homes and stronger communities, but cannot afford to borrow the money needed and accepts that things will get worse unless something is done. One Vision Housing, set up by the council, can borrow the money needed while keeping rents affordable and tenants' rights and entitlements protected. You should have received your formal offer document from the council. This contains all the information you need about what transfer to One Vision Housing would mean. And just as importantly, what would happen if you were to stay with the council. Please read it, because soon you will receive your ballot paper for the secret ballot. Remember, transfer can only go ahead if the majority of tenants voting vote in favour. If tenants vote no, homes stay with the council. If tenants vote yes, then transfer can happen. Think about what you want to see. And remember, please use your vote.